Peter, I'm going to give you a moment to just comment if you want to, and then I'm going to open it up to some questions. I want to tell you that I want you to be at ease and comfortable. I know it's after 1 o'clock is it Darling?
No, it's Cape Town.
Okay, in Cape Town. It's after 1 o'clock in the morning.
No, it's 12:15. It's 12:15. Pumpkin has not turned into Jacob Zuma yet.
So I just wanted to tell you also that we're one of the couple that jumped on you after the Baxter performance, which led to you being here. And we also told you that in our youth, our best friend was Desiree Rosenthal, who used to play piano with Tessa at one of their Stanfords. So that's
right.
So you're part of the family. That's why you're okay. So you want to give a couple of comments?
Well, you know, I mean, I sit here in Cape Town, watching exactly what you're seeing in Vancouver at the same time, and I just realized that the technology that we have got to share with each other is just beyond anyone's imagination. And yet, if the story doesn't work, no matter how much technology you have, it isn't the same thing. And I just love the way you were all sitting there and enjoying the story of this extraordinary journey. I mean, I look at the film and I look at this man on the screen and I think, yes, it's die donderus mal. Really, truly, it's just so bizarre. And it's good, and especially when young people watch it and they come to me and they say, did that all really happen? And you suddenly think, I'm not talking about something that happened in the 14th century, I'm talking about something that happened 25 years ago. So really, truly, I really think if I can remind people where we come from, we can really celebrate where we are going.
Thank you. Thank you. Peter, I'm going to take advantage of being on the stage here to ask you the first question, and then I'm going to open it up to the crowd.
Okay.
I grew up as a Jewish boy in Vicksburg, and my first love was Afrikaans. In fact, I went to an Afrikaans Stedford, and I got my first, prize. Oom Lokomotief. It was a poem by Oom Lokomotief. The interesting thing about growing up in Vicksburg is that I was also exposed to anti-Semitism from Afrikaner boys. So there was a love-hate relationship between me and Afrikaans and Afrikaners, which we could talk about another time. But what I wanted to ask you, and it's a personal question, but you talked about it in your film. You learned about being Jewish later on in life, after your mother died.
Yeah.
The fact that you, I don't know exactly when, but the fact that you learned about it later, so you're now a Jewish Afrikaner, has that in any way changed the way you think? Is it a driving force? Is it a new force in your life, or not at all?
It's quite a complicated question. Let me just think it through for a moment. When I found out that my background was Jewish through my mother, I was so pleased, because as long as I can remember, my best friends at school were Jewish people, Jewish boys and girls. And I always said to my mother, I want to go and visit them because they have such nice food. And they are so funny. They laugh at so many wonderful things. They laugh at each other. And their mothers are gorgeous because they are blonde and they say divine things all the time. So I really felt such a belonging. And I was delighted to be part of that family. And I am still. But I am as careful about the Jewish religion as I am about the Afrikaner, Christian, Calvinist religion, and about the Muslim religion, because the word religion makes me think twice. So I really am proud to be part of a brave people and a wonderfully, I use the word bittere Gelächter, is something my grandmother taught me, and I didn't quite know what it meant until I found out really truly how sad and yet how important that laugh at fear and at suffering was. And I think it's been the greatest inspiration in my life to be able to laugh at fear and to encourage people to laugh at your fear and make it less fearful. It can still kill you, but at least you are looking at it and you know where it is and what it is. So So I think it all worked out eventually. I'm just so sorry my mother isn't here or wasn't there to tell me herself. I will always question many things about the denial in my family about her being a Jew, and yet I will respect it because there was obviously a very good reason for her not to talk about, after having gone through what she went through in Berlin at that time before she came to South Africa.
Thank you. So I'm going to open up the floor to other questions, and I hope I can see where the question is. I should say that I went to Berlin and I spent a lot of time in the Jewish Museum exactly at that exhibit, looking at your mother playing the piano, and it was very moving. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
Hello, Peter. My name's Jack. I'm learning about your story for the first time this evening, and thank you for your time as well. Given how much you've achieved and done in your life, why was now the right time to make this film?
Well, somebody said to me, I want to make a film. And I said, why? And they said, because. And I said, it would be a very short film. They said, and I don't say they, because it was this young man called Willem Olofsson, and I knew him quite well because he worked with Pieter-Dirk in the theatre. He was Pieter-Dirk's assistant director and producer. A fine young man and a very, very good worker. And he said, I've never actually made a movie before, a full feature film. And I said, well, hell's bells, let's see what happens. And this is what happened. We just actually got on with it. And it was just wonderful traveling with them, because there was Willem carrying the cameras, and there was the editor and the sound man, the three of us. And that was the team, We didn't make Gone with the Wind, but we got close to it. And yes, you're right. Was now the time? Yes, now is the time. Because I'm 71 years old, I feel 42, but I mean 71 is 71, and suddenly the disease to please is cured, and I suddenly think I don't have to explain anything, and if somebody wants to explore the alphabet of my life, then they can do that without me necessarily getting involved, because I've learned that lesson too. Don't always push things in your direction, just let people actually see it from their point of view. And I'm happy about the film, very happy about the movie.
Well, thank you very much for making it. I found it very moving.
Thank you.
Just up, a little bit up, a few rows up.
Thank you very much for a remarkable movie. My name is Bonnie. I have a question, since I myself am an educator. What influence do you feel you might have had on other comics and satirists in the African context, in South African context? People perhaps like Trevor Noah, have there been connections with such artists, or do you feel that you've operated predominantly independently in that context?
I never think about the influence or the effect. I don't think that's helpful. People have actually said to me, how did you change people's mind about apartheid? And I shudder, because it's a terrible indictment. My job is to entertain. That's it. The bottom line is I have to bring you to me. And to come to the theatre sometimes takes 4 hours of your time. You've got to, in South Africa, set your burglar alarm, feed your dog, load your gun. You've got to risk your life in the Johannesburg traffic, which turns you into a racist within 20 seconds. You park your car, you kiss your car goodbye. You sit down, and then you are there, and if you are bored, you'll never come back again. So I have to make sure that every time I'm on a stage and there are 3 people or 3,000 people, I want them to leave with a sense of celebration, because they identified with, they laughed at, they laughed with, they were angry, they were offended. I hope I offend somebody, but not all the time, it's too exhausting. Because it means that I've rattled your cage, that I've actually made you rethink what you think. So if the young comedians, and you mentioned Trevor Noah, whom I admire hugely, what a fine example of a young, I want to say young South African, because he's more than just that, but he's not forgotten who he is and where he comes from. And he's bright, and he's funny, and he is very angry, and he doesn't make excuses. And if I have any shadow over his enormous son, then I'm delighted because I'm much older than he is, and we have hugged each other at airports when he comes very heavily disguised in case they attack him for a selfie. He's going to attack me for my wallet and he's actually just saying, "Hi, Peter, it's Pieter-Dirk." So yeah, I love the regionality. I keep on saying to young people, when they sound and look a little bit like what I did, I say, don't do that. It's been done better. I was better than you. Now you have to stand on your own feet and become better than I would ever become. Originality is what you have come for in this audience, and so we don't like carbon copies. And the terrifying thing is that the president across your border is original. You don't quite know what he's going to do, but at least he's got a very thin skin, so make jokes about him for the next 4 years. He will tweet all night and never sleep. Hi, Marianne.
I want to know, when did you start being funny? Were you funny as a kid? Were you funny as a teenager? When did it all begin? That didn't come out in the movie.
Well, it didn't come out in my life. I can't answer that question. I didn't think I'm funny. I mean, I look funny in the morning when I wake up, but that's not funny. Do you know that the first time I realized that if I made people laugh, I might save my life was at school, when the big boys came and they wanted to beat me and hit me and kick me, and sometimes they caught me and they pulled my pants off, my long pants, not my... but I wish they'd done that, I might have made better friends. But and then I just knew if I made a joke and made them laugh, I could run away and hide in the girls' toilets, which I did. But I was never funny, and I'm not very good at doing jokes. I can't really remember them. I find that the truth is funnier. And again, the difference between comedy and humor. Comedy is the joke that you want to remember to repeat, but humor is very personal. Sometimes it's not even funny, but it's again your reaction to something that frightens you. And when you see that you are in charge of that fear, you go, "Ah, I know you, I've seen you." So I suppose I liked showing off when I was a little boy. We used to do concerts for my grandmother, both my German granny and my Afrikaanse oma. And after that, I remember collecting money for the SPCA, and they always give money in a little tin, a tikkie here and a tikkie there. And then I had my appendix out at the St. Joseph's Hospital, and I fell in love with the nuns. And my next concert was to raise money for the nuns, and my Afrikaans granny took the money back. She said she's not going to support die rooi gevaar. All those things. So thank you for asking that question. I wish I had a nice clear answer, but I suppose by being trapped in a corner, I knew I could get out by making people laugh. And usually in South Africa, it's easy to make Afrikaners laugh. When the police came around and looked at me with a frown, I would use rude Afrikaans words, and when they laughed, I ran like hell. So.
I see 2 hands up.
Hi, Peter, it's Deborah.
Hi, Deborah.
Hi. Thank you so much for everything. Just a quick question, and it probably has quite a complicated answer. I just wanted to know what your thoughts are about the last week politically in South Africa.
Oh, thank you for that. Have you got time? Do you know, I think it's a wonderful celebration of a healthy democracy, because that's what happens in a democracy. People don't always agree, and there is corruption in the highest places in every single country in the world. And the tragedy is that democratically elected governments are finding democratically accepted ways to destroy democracy. It's happening down the road across your borders, south. It's happening in the United Kingdom with Brexit. It might have happened in Holland, which it didn't. It has certainly happened in Russia. It has happened in Zimbabwe. And let's not even talk about Syria. And yes, there are possibilities in South Africa that we might even lose our democracy, but we won't, because we have freedom of expression, we have a judiciary, we have really, truly some extremely good people in the African National Congress, not necessarily the ones you think we are talking about, because some of the politicians in power are just very successful and clever, and charismatic, corrupt bastards. And quite frankly, they're giving themselves away. So what happened in the last few weeks and last few days, and probably in the last few minutes, the way things are going now, is that Jacob Zuma is really truly proving exactly what we thought he was going to become. And it's up to us to find a democratic way to get out of this mess. I have a nice Afrikaans word, but let's use the English word mess. Let's see what happens. I mean, again, I am very careful not to talk. Not now. My big thing now with what's going on at this moment in time in our politics is to say, white people, be quiet. Let us not have white noise here, because we have very intelligent black people talking about very, very dangerous black people. And let it be sorted out in that way, because that is maybe the beginning of the solving of the problem. The African National Congress, a great liberation movement, a fantastic government for the first few years of our democracy, and then we citizens got lazy and we didn't check who was taking the power. And because we didn't check, the wrong people took power and made themselves very strong. And so we need to do our homework, and every democracy deserves the government they get. And again, referring to the American peoples, 46% of them didn't vote. And I think if they had all voted, they would have had a different government. So let's see what happens, and keep interested and keep involved. And we will try not to lose our sense of humor. And the wonderful thing is that one always finds ways to laugh at the most terrible moments. And we've had some marvelous moments in the last few days, and a very moving experience of our great hero, Ahmed Kathrada, whose funeral was a very important platform for the truth to come out. And as far as I'm concerned, I have too much material. I have got a show that will go on for 42 hours because the government never stops writing me my material.
One more question. Okay.
Peter, my name is Don. I so wish you could have heard the applause for your show. I would so wish you could have heard the applause at the end of your show. It was overwhelming in this theater, and I think it was extremely heartfelt. It certainly was, I know, from the road that was going in and out.
I have just one question for you.
I'm sorry, your voice is disappearing.
I think he's getting another mic. He's getting another
We're
mic.
being hacked by the Russians.
Let's try this.
That's better, yes. Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Thank you. Just the question is all continuing the political theme. How did you get President Forster to take part in your movie?
President Forster is dead. Who are you talking about?
De Klerk.
Declare, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we asked him. We said, do you want to be in a movie? He said, okay. Well, I mean, it was very interesting and important to have his voice in the film. I mean, I have one, and I said this to the people once the movie was made, and they said, now, how are we going to sell the movie? Do you have a bite? Do you have a slogan? And I said, yes, I do have a slogan. Why didn't you say, here's a movie which features 3 Nobel Peace Prize winners, 2 Oscar winners, a dame of the British Empire, and it is a film about a man very few people know anything about.
Peter, I'm afraid we've come to the end of our Skype call with you. It's been a fantastic moment for all of us, as you can probably gather from the applause. I just want to say that you probably know this, but Vancouver South African Film Festival, all the proceeds are going into educational projects in South Africa, and in fact in Gugulethu, which is not far from Darling. So that makes this a very unique thing, and you're part of it. Your film and you being here was part of it. Thank you. And I want to give you, I'm giving you a verbal present from Vancouver South African Film Festival. It's my favorite Afrikaans proverb. hou moed, hou kop, which means have courage, keep your courage, but also use your head.